A smarter way to think about money. Right now, somewhere in the world, a 24-year-old just got paid. A notification appears, salary received, and for a few seconds, life feels under control. Bills can be paid. Food can be ordered, plans can be made. Maybe this month feels different. Maybe this month there's finally room to breathe. And yet, without realizing it, that same person may already be walking toward financial stress. Not because they're careless, not because they're lazy, not because they lack ambition, but because nobody ever taught them how money actually works. From childhood, most of us were taught how to memorize, how to follow instructions, how to pass tests, how to earn approval, how to get hired, and for years, that system made sense. Work hard, get good grades, build a career, earn salary, and life should work out. But then adulthood arrives, and suddenly money begins moving faster than you expected. Rent, food, transport, responsibilities, subscriptions, unexpected expenses, family obligations, life, and for the first time, you begin asking a question nobody prepared you for. If I'm working this hard, why doesn't money feel easier? Maybe you've asked that question too. Maybe late at night, looking at your account balance. Maybe after paying bills. Maybe after saying next month. Maybe after realizing you're earning more than before. And, still, feeling behind. And that feeling can be confusing. Because from the outside, everything looks fine. You have a job, you have goals, you have potential, maybe, even success, but privately, something feels off. And the dangerous part? Financial mistakes rarely feel like mistakes. Not at first. They feel normal. A monthly payment, a reward after a hard week, a better apartment, a newer device, a subscription you barely notice, a purchase that feels small. And one decision rarely changes your future, but repeated decisions almost always do, month by month, year by year. Tiny habits become financial patterns. Patterns become lifestyles. Lifestyles become obligations, and obligations can quietly become cages. Not because life went wrong, but because no one taught you that. Money isn't just math, money is psychology. Money is behavior, money is behavior. Money is how you think. And this is where most people make their biggest mistake. They believe money problems can be solved. What more money? A bigger salary? A better promotion, a side hustle, a business, another opportunity. And while income matters, income alone doesn't create freedom. Because if your thinking stays the same, a bigger paycheck can simply create bigger mistakes. And that may be one of the most expensive truths of adult life. So here's the real question. What if the biggest financial mistake isn't losing money? What if the biggest financial mistake is spending years thinking about money the wrong way? Because in the next hour, you're not going to learn how to get rich quickly. You're not going to hear empty promises. You're not going to hear overnight success stories. Instead, you're going to learn a smarter way to think about money, a way built on behavior, clarity, discipline, time, and decisions that quietly change lives. By the end of this video, you'll understand why smart people still feel broke, why more income often changes nothing, why time can be more powerful than talent, and why financial freedom usually begins long before investing. But first, you need to understand why so many intelligent people still feel stuck. For most people, life begins with a promise repeated so often, it starts to feel like truth. Study hard, get good grades, find a stable job, work hard, stay focused, be responsible, and eventually, everything will work out. Maybe you heard those words from your parents, maybe from your teachers, maybe from people who genuinely wanted the best for you. And to be fair, they weren't wrong. Education matters. Discipline matters. Hard work matters. Ambition matters. But there's something almost nobody adds to that conversation. Something so important that ignoring it can quietly shape the next 30 years of your life. Nobody says, learn how money behaves, because the day after graduation, life changes quickly. Very quickly, suddenly, you're no longer preparing for life. You're paying for it: rent, food, transportation, internet, insurance, family debt, unexpected expenses, responsibilities you never saw coming. And for many people, the first paycheck feels exciting, the second feels useful, the third feels normal, and after that something strange begins to happen. Money starts arriving and disappearing almost immediately. And for the first time, a quiet question appears. I'm working harder than ever, so why don't I feel ahead? This question is more common than most people admit, because behind polished resumes, behind office promotions, behind social media photos, behind expensive dinners, behind "I'm doing great," millions of intelligent people are privately asking that exact same question. A doctor can understand the human body and still feel financially overwhelmed. An engineer can solve complex systems and still live paycheck to paycheck. A designer can build beautiful products and still feel anxious every time bills arrive. A business owner can look successful online and still lose sleep over money. Because intelligence and financial literacy are not the same thing. Education can create income. Financial literacy creates options. A degree can help you earn, a career can help you grow. Skills can increase your opportunities, but none of those things automatically teach you how debt grows, how inflation steals, how investing works, how cash flow matters, how wealth is built, how financial freedom is actually created. And without that knowledge, something dangerous happens. People begin confusing income with wealth, because modern life makes spending look like success. A nicer apartment, a newer phone, a better car, more subscriptions, more upgrades, more convenience. More, I deserve this. And none of it looks dangerous. That's what makes it dangerous, because financial traps rarely look like traps. They look like normal life. Every day, you see people traveling, buying, celebrating, upgrading, winning, posting, comparing, showing, and, slowly, without realizing it, you begin comparing your private reality to someone else's public highlight reel, and comparison can become expensive. Very expensive. Because once comparison begins, decisions change. You don't buy because you need something. You buy because you don't want to feel behind. You don't upgrade because life improved. You upgrade because everyone else seems to be moving faster. And before long, money stops becoming a tool and starts becoming a performance. Looking successful and being financially secure are not the same thing. Some people look rich, some people sleep peacefully. And those two things are not always connected. This is where many smart people quietly get stuck, not because they're lazy, not because they're unlucky, not because they lack potential, but because they were taught how to build careers, not how to build systems, how to increase income, not how to keep it, how to work, not how to make money work. And here's the part most people discover far too late. Making more money doesn't automatically solve money problems. In fact, sometimes it makes them bigger. Because if spending grows every time income grows, then no matter how much you earn, freedom stays exactly where it is. And that is where the real trap begins. When people struggle with money, they usually say the same thing. I need to make more income, more clients, more opportunities, more promotions, more side hustles, more. And on the surface, that sounds logical, because money looks like math, numbers, budgets, percentages, interest rates, balances, calculations. So, naturally, most people assume money problems must be math problems. But here's the truth. For most people, money problems are not math problems, they're behavior problems. Money doesn't respond to intelligence. Money responds to behavior. Think about it. Most adults already know the basic rules. Spend less than you earn. Save consistently. Avoid unnecessary debt. Think long-term. Invest early. Be patient. These ideas are not secret, they're not hidden, they're not complicated. So if the rules are known, why do so many people still struggle? Because knowing and doing are two very different things. Nobody wakes up and says, "Today, I'm going to ruin my financial future." That's not how it happens. It happens quietly, emotionally, repeatedly, and usually it looks completely normal. A stressful day, so you order food; a difficult week, so you reward yourself; a promotion, so you upgrade; a bad mood, so you buy something; a lonely night, so you scroll, click buy, repeat not, because you're irresponsible, because you're human. Money is deeply connected to psychology, to emotion, to identity, to status, to fear, to belonging, to self-worth. And if you don't understand the psychology behind your spending, no income will ever feel like enough. Uncontrolled behavior can outspend any salary. Let's imagine two people, same age, same city, same salary, same opportunities, same intelligence, but completely different money behavior. Person 1. They work hard, very hard, and because they work hard, they believe they deserve comfort, which is true, but slowly, comfort becomes automatic. Morning coffee, food delivery, convenience apps, impulse upgrades, monthly subscriptions, weekend spending, retail therapy, small rewards. None of it feels expensive. That's what makes it dangerous. Because tiny expenses, repeated consistently, can quietly become massive leaks. One drop doesn't seem dangerous, but enough drops can empty a tank. Money works the same way. Person 2. Same salary, same pressure, same responsibilities, but different awareness. Before spending, they pause. Before upgrading, they think. Before saying yes, they ask, will this purchase improve my life, or just improve this moment? That one question changes everything. Because smart money behavior isn't about deprivation, it's about intention. Financial discipline is not saying no to everything, it's saying yes to what matters most. And here's where many people get trapped. They confuse spending with progress. A bigger apartment, a newer device, a more expensive vacation, a more impressive lifestyle. And from the outside, it looks like success, but appearances can be expensive, very expensive looking. Wealthy and building wealth are different skills. One attracts attention, the other creates freedom. One gets likes, the other buys peace. One impresses strangers, the other protects your future. And if you don't learn the difference early, you may spend years building an image instead of building options. Because modern life makes emotional spending feel normal. Algorithms know your weakness. Brands know your desires. Notifications know your timing. Convenience knows your habits. And if your money has no plan, someone else will happily create one for you. So here's the truth. Money isn't only about numbers. Money is behavior. Money is identity. Money is habit. Money is repetition. And the life you build will often reflect the decisions you repeat when nobody is watching. And once you understand that, a new question appears. Not, how much do I make? But, what stage am I in? Financially, because before you grow money, don't you need to know where you actually stand? Most people think money is about numbers, how much you earn, how much you spend, how much you save, how much you invest. But money isn't just numbers, money is awareness. Because before you build wealth, before you invest, before you create freedom, before you think about retirement or financial independence, you need to answer one question. Where am I right now? Because one of the biggest financial mistakes people make is trying to solve the wrong problem. Saving when debt is controlling them, investing when emergencies still create panic, chasing passive income while their spending remains chaotic. And without awareness, even good advice can arrive at the wrong time. Clarity creates progress over time. Most financial journeys move through 4 levels, not perfectly, not in straight lines, not on a fixed timeline. But understanding these levels can completely change how you think about money. So ask yourself honestly, which level are you living in today? Level 1, Survival. At this level, money feels heavy. Every paycheck already has a destination: rent, food, transportation, family responsibilities, debt, essentials, and by the end of the month, very little remains. Sometimes nothing, sometimes less than nothing. Unexpected expenses don't feel inconvenient, they feel dangerous. A broken phone creates stress. A medical bill creates fear. A missed paycheck can change everything. Survival creates short-term thinking, and that's not weakness, that's biology. When your brain feels unsafe, it focuses on now, not next year, not retirement, not investing now. And if you're here, the goal isn't wealth, not yet. The goal is stability level. 2. Stability at this level. Something begins to change. For the first time, you know your numbers. You know what comes in. You know what goes out. You know what you owe. You know what matters. Bills no longer feel random. Spending becomes intentional. Savings begin to exist, even if small, even if imperfect, even if progress feels slow. And slowly, a powerful feeling appears. Control. Control creates confidence. At this level, you begin building emergency savings, debt repayment plans, spending boundaries, financial systems, automatic habits. Not because life became easier, because your decisions became clearer, and for many people, this level changes everything. Because, for the first time, money stops feeling emotional and starts feeling measurable. Level 3. Growth. At this level, survival no longer controls you. Emergencies no longer create panic. Bills no longer create fear. You have systems. You have habits. You have breathing room. Now money begins doing something new. It begins working. This is where you start thinking differently. Not, how do I survive, but, how do I grow? This is where people begin investing, building skills, increasing earning power, creating assets, starting businesses, buying ownership, thinking long-term. Growth begins when money gains purpose. And here's what changes. Most at this level, you stop trading only time for money and start building systems that can outlive a paycheck level. For freedom, this is the level. Most people think money is about luxury, cars, houses, status, recognition. But real financial freedom usually looks quieter, much quieter. Freedom is waking up without panic. Freedom is saying no without guilt. Freedom is leaving what no longer serves you. Freedom is having choices. Freedom is time. Freedom is peace. And peace may be the most underrated financial goal in the world. Wealth creates options. Freedom creates peace. At this level, money stops being the center of your life and becomes a tool. A quiet one, a useful one, a deeply powerful one. But here's what most people misunderstand. They believe level 4 belongs only to people who earn more. But here's what most people misunderstand. They believe level 4 belongs only to people who earn more. Not always, because the journey from survival to freedom is rarely about income alone. It's about something far more powerful, something invisible, something that rewards people who start early, something that punishes delay time. And if you understand what time can do to money, you may never look at your 20s the same way again. If you ask most people how to build wealth, you'll hear the same answers. Earn more, get promoted, start a business, work harder, find better opportunities. And none of those ideas are wrong. More income can create opportunities. More skills can create options. More value can create growth. But there's one truth that quietly changes everything. Wealth is not built by income alone. It's built by time. Income creates opportunity. Time creates multiplication. And this is where many people make a very expensive mistake. They believe they can always start later. Later, when work is less stressful. Later, when income is higher. Later, when life feels stable. Later, when responsibilities feel lighter. Later, when timing feels better, and without realizing it, later, quietly, becomes years, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and suddenly, the future you thought was far away feels uncomfortably close, and that's when many people discover one of the hardest truths about money: time doesn't refund itself. You can recover from bad decisions. You can rebuild. After setbacks, you can change careers, you can learn new skills, you can increase income. But lost time moves only one way. And money has a unique relationship with time, because money has the ability to grow, and then that growth can grow itself. This force has built retirement funds, businesses, family security, generational wealth, long-term freedom, and yet, most people barely notice it. In the beginning, this is compound growth. You don't need to memorize the formula. What matters is what it means. Small amounts, repeated consistently over long periods, can become extraordinary. Think about planting a tree. The first year, almost nothing changes. The second year, still small, still quiet, still invisible. And for many people, that's when they quit. Because progress feels too slow. Results feel too small. Growth feels disappointing. But underground, something important is happening. Roots, strength, structure, foundation, and eventually, what once looked invisible becomes impossible to ignore. Money works the same way. Imagine two friends. Same intelligence, same opportunities, same city, same ambition, same income, but one decision changes everything. Person 1. At 22, they start. Not perfectly, not with huge amounts, not with expert knowledge, just consistency. Month after month, year after year, quietly, patiently, without applause. Person 2, same goals, same potential, but they wait, because life feels busy, because money feels tight, because responsibilities feel real, because they believe there's always more time. 10 years pass. Now they both invest. Both work hard. Both stay disciplined. Both make smart choices, and, yet, in many real-world situations, the person who started earlier still finishes far ahead, not because they earned more, not because they were smarter, not because they took bigger risks, because time worked for them longer. Consistency beats intensity, and this may be one of the most important financial lessons of your 20s and 30s. You do not need perfect timing. You do not need perfect conditions. You do not need a massive salary. You do not need to know everything. You need a system, a habit, a timeline, and the discipline to stay consistent when progress feels invisible. Because in the beginning, wealth rarely looks exciting. It looks boring, predictable, quiet, routine, automatic, and boring can be incredibly powerful. But here's where many people make another expensive mistake. Once they discover investing, they stop building wealth and start chasing excitement. Fast profits, trending assets, social media tips, market predictions, short-term wins. And in the process, they confuse investing with gambling, and that can destroy years of patient progress. For most people, the first paycheck feels unforgettable. The first raise feels like progress. The first promotion feels like proof that your hard work is finally paying off. And in many ways, that it is. More income can create better opportunities, more comfort, more security, more choices. So naturally, when income rises, life begins to change. A better apartment, a newer phone, a nicer wardrobe, better restaurants, more convenience, more subscriptions, more upgrades, more "I've earned this." And here's the truth. Sometimes you have, sometimes you absolutely have. This is not about guilt. This is not about never enjoying life. This is not about pretending money doesn't matter. This is about understanding a trap so common that millions of intelligent people walk into it without ever noticing. Income rises, lifestyle rises, freedom stays the same. Is the income trap. Imagine, every month, more money starts flowing into your life. More income, more opportunity, more growth. But every month, your expenses grow with it. And suddenly, the bucket still feels empty. Not because there isn't enough money, but because the leaks keep getting bigger. A slightly better apartment, a slightly newer car, a slightly more expensive phone, a few extra subscriptions, more convenience, more delivery, more monthly payments, more comfort, and one decision. Rarely feels dangerous. That's what makes it dangerous, because financial traps rarely arrive. As disasters, they arrive. As upgrades. Month by month, small upgrades become permanent obligations. Permanent obligations become expectations. Expectations become pressure, and pressure can quietly become a lifestyle you can no longer step away from. Not because you're irresponsible, because human beings adapt quickly, very quickly. Today's luxury becomes tomorrow's normal. That's how lifestyle inflation works. What once felt special becomes standard. What once felt exciting becomes expected. What once felt optional begins to feel necessary. And before long, your income increases. But your breathing room doesn't. Imagine two friends, same age, same city, same promotion, same raise, an extra $500 every month. Same opportunity, different behavior. Person 1 they celebrate, and honestly, they deserve to, so they upgrade. A nicer place, a bigger car, payment, better gadgets, more nights out, more subscriptions, more convenience. Everything looks successful. Everything feels earned. Everything feels normal. And for a while, everything feels fine, until life interrupts. A repair, a medical expense, a job change, a family emergency, an economic slowdown, and suddenly, despite earning more, stress returns because income increased, but resilience didn't. Person 2 same raise, same opportunity, same temptation, but before spending, they pause and ask one question: will this purchase buy comfort or freedom? And that question changes everything. Part goes to savings. Part goes toward eliminating debt. Part goes toward investing. Part goes toward skill building. Part stays as flexibility. Then, and only then, lifestyle changes. 5 years later, one person looks successful. The other has options. And options may be the most underrated form of wealth. The option 2, leave a toxic job. The option 2, move. The option to say no. The option to care for family. The option to start again. The option to breathe. Because real wealth isn't always visible. Sometimes, real wealth looks incredibly ordinary, quiet, simple, unimpressive, debt-free, prepared, free. So, before you ask, how can I make more money? Ask something better. If my income doubles, will my freedom double too? Because if your habits stay the same, a bigger paycheck may simply finance bigger mistakes. And once you understand that, a bigger question appears. If money isn't the most valuable asset, then what is? If this video changed the way you think about money, subscribe for more thoughtful lessons on psychology, wealth, human behavior, and building a better life. And in the comments, answer this. What's one money lesson you wish you learned earlier? Because your answer may help someone else think smarter before it's too late. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.